Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Inept General bringing you a video on the legendary lords in the upcoming The Shadow and the Blade DLC. We have some more information on them. Came out a few days ago in terms of some of their abilities and their starting positions, but I was making the stat comparison video where I broke down the stats of all the units we'll be getting in the DLC. If you'd like to check out that video, do check the top right hand corner, but let's have a look at the information that's been released about the starting positions for the legendary lords in this new DLC, Malus Darkblade and Snikch. Let's start off with a Malus Darkblade, shall we? And we've been giving a bit of information publicly released about his faction effects and what he's able to do. Now, we know that he is able to be possessed by the demon. That was described in some of the Steam stuff earlier. This ability, the Zarkan's Whispers, where the demon influences Malus's thoughts and acts to commit deeds of slaughter and cruelty. That's a mechanic I believe they look into in a campaign video, whereby there are some deeds that you can do that will get you rewards, but will cause you to go to war with certain factions or do certain missions, stuff like that. A military alliance with Nagaron, so that is with Malekith, the Witch King himself, so you automatically have a buddy to go along with you. Income from iron mines, gold mines, and marble, plus 30% all regions. That's pretty good. A real good effect that means you have a Dark Elf army that can really generate some good income. Mount, Spite, his Cold One, basically a Velociraptor mount. Larger than most others of its kind, the ferocious Cold One named Spite is truly a creature fit for the heartless murderer like Malus Darkblade. Very good fun there to have Spite included as his mount. Lord effects, minus 20 for Cold Ones, Cold One Dread Knights, Cold One Knights, and Cold One Chariot units. So good opportunity to get some of them, and then minus 50% upkeep for the same unit. So maybe a big cavalry-focused army for him there, and of course his unique item, the Warp Sword of Cain. So moving on from some of those effects and faction counts, let's go to some of his actual abilities that he will have in the campaign. And we have the Waking, which is minus 20% cooldown to the Blood Prince and the Demon's Curse, who are two abilities he has. One where he is just Malus by himself, and the other when he is transformed into his demon form. So those are two abilities, mostly boosting attack power that he has there. Pain Tolerance, Missile Resistance 10%, and Melee Defense plus 10, just that he can take a lot of punishment. Lying in Wait, Ambush Success Chance plus 15%, always handy. Ambushing is a real key mechanic in Total War Warhammer, and a lot of the Total War games, in fact. Chance of intercepting an army using the Underway and World Routes plus 20%, which is great as well. And it gives Malus Stalk, so he can get around the back of some units without being detected. The Slumber, minus 20% cooldown to Bloodstorm, and minus 20 cooldown to Reaper of Souls. Again, two abilities that have an effect when he is Malus and have effect when he is the demon Zarkan. Avatar of Terror, my enemy leadership minus 7 local areas, causes terror while transformed into his demon form. Supernatural Tissue, casualty replenishment rate, plus 30% for lords. And he has a ward save of 10, again, while he's in his demon form, not when he's the normal Malus. Cold Heart, campaign movement range, plus 5%. Attrition, minus 30%, all attrition. That's a great little skill to have there. Vigor loss reduction, negative 50% for Cold One Dread Knights, Cold One Knights, and Cold One Chariots. So not only do they cost less, but they can fight for better for longer. So really do try to rack up his army with a lot of cavalry. The Dracu Tyrant, on turn start, lords in the character's region have a chance to gain plus loyalty and plus 3% public order local province. Upkeep minus 10% all units. Saving you money, making sure that the lords are properly intimidated by you if you go and visit them if they're at risk of rebelling. And Contempt and Hatred, plus 20% weapon strength when fighting against anything and everything. That is a great little skill to have. Really, once you got that, he goes up into a different fighting class in the campaign, it looks like. That's a huge weapon strength boost. Taking that into consideration, his unique skills and his faction effects, let's have a look at where he'll be starting his campaign. And on the Vortex map, it looks like he'll be starting in the Sea of Dread. down to the south of the Southlands, really maybe hitting some of those islands, having a lot of early encounters with the likes of Krokgar and Queek. It looks like down there in that kind of position, maybe going across to hit some of the High Elves on their other islands over there as well. So an interesting starting position, kind of fun. A lot to be able to do here. You'll be going up against a lot of Legendary Lords two Legendary Lords fairly quickly in this position down here. So yeah, no problem with that at all. And I believe this map didn't necessarily show it, but in the Steam page it did describe as you getting a choice early on to continue to occupy your home city back in Nagaroth. So that probably isn't shown in this map that they released, but it is shown in the next map, which is the Mortal Empires map. And it looks like we are getting some new territory in the Mortal Empires map, kind of behind the western shores, looking at it here. So the Dragon Isles, I believe, are a new addition, unless I've really gone off the deep end here. And so he is going to be starting there. And here we also see the highlighted area in the northeast, where his home city is, and where you'll get a choice early on in the campaign whether to keep that territory or get rid of it for a big cash incentive early on, so you just keep your expeditionary force and build an empire from there without having to worry about what's going on back home. So that's an interesting dynamic, an interesting choice early on for Malus Darkblade. So interesting start position. This one is a bit weirder. We'll see later on in this video where Snikch is starting. So it looks like they'll be much closer in the Mortal Empires than they were. You'll have Libaras there, so you'll have Neferata to be taking on early doors as well. So you have a couple of Legendary Lords around you in this position as well to start taking on, fighting against some Tomb Kings, fighting against some Skaven, it looks like, in the early goings of this campaign. So there we go. Those are the starting positions and all the info we have public release for Malus Darkblade so far. Let's move on to Snikch, the Skaven Legendary Lord, and let's kick things off with some of his faction effects. So Clan Eshin has access to Eshin Shadowy Dealings actions, which by described in the Steam page was looking at deals you can do with other clans, with actual abilities you can do. And these are assassin abilities that have a 100% success rate, bringing you food, bringing you cash, bringing you in a couple of things. So I like that there's a lot more agent action with Clan Eshin. That's very on topic, on lore for the way they behave in terms of the Warhammer world. Recruitment plus 200% for all non-Eshin units. Now, this looks like a scary stat, but we have been told before that the recruitment cost for other units will go down as you do more contracts for them. So that is not something necessarily to worry about. It maybe will hamper you early on to really recruit stuff like the Death Runners, the more Eshin-focused units, at least at the beginning of the campaign. Clan Eshin Lords never defect clan loyalty. That's a cool little trait there. Night Runners and Gutter Runner units use armor-piercing, warp-infused projectiles, so giving a boost to your natural Night Runners and Gutter Runners there. The Death Master stalks around in the shadows. He does not need a mount. He's fine. He's on foot. That's the way Death Master operates. Ambush success chance plus 25%, that's great, hiding in the shadows. Melee attack plus 4 for embedded heroes, making them a bit better. Maybe some private training the Deathmaster does with them. And he has concealment bombs, which we have seen before. He does have a unique item, Whirl of Weeping Blades, which gives him some of that armor piercing ability, and the Cloak of Shadows as well. So his two items in the lore. The item he didn't have that was also included in the lore was actually these braces. You can see them on the model here around his arms, the Vambraces. They, in the lore, actually used to double his strength, but it looks like they've gone away from the older stuff and sticking to the more modern lore about the Deathmaster. So moving on from that, let's look at some of his unique abilities. And we have Jump Scare. Enemy units are afflicted with temporary defensive penalties at the beginning of ambush battles. Ambush success chance plus 10%, enemy leadership minus 5%. So you can really get in there and hit them hard and fast with the Jump Scare ability. Scurry Fast Quick, campaign movement plus 5, charge bonus plus 8 for Lord's Army. Again, just getting them around, getting them to get into you a bit quicker, a bit more viciously. Conceal, hide them, plus 10% speed for infantry units, concealment bombs for Night Runners and Gutter Runners. So you're potentially getting ability for the Night Runners and Gutter Runners, and they have extra armor piercing. Contract loopholes, upkeep minus 25% for all units in the Lord's army, hero and Lord recruit rank +3 for all provinces. So that is great. So the Lords will be better when you recruit them, and you're saving a ton of money in your main army as well. Just dodge it, the ability that he's just a bit more nimble, a bit quicker, +5 defense, physical resistance 15%, sabotage and unrest, immediately causes siege attrition at a reduced rate when besieging enemy settlements, -5 public order local enemy province. So that's great, maybe saving you some time, doesn't really have the tools early on to smash into a lot of these settlements with walls, so giving him that maybe adds an element of urgency, encourages the AI maybe to come out at you a little bit earlier, or other players depending who you're playing against. From the shadows just gives him that ability from the shadows, and the passive ability of Deathmaster's sigil there as well. So moving on, let's have a look at his starting positions. We have him over here in the land of the dervishes. That is an interesting start position. I can't remember if Tic-Tac-Toe is around here as well in the Vortex map. It's been a while since I've done a full Vortex campaign, I'll confess to you guys. But I believe, yeah, he might be around there. You've maybe got Queek coming up from the south. I believe you'll be going up against Tomb Kings mainly. The dwarves will be there to give you a bit of trouble. So you can really go up against some of those dwarves as well. And you'll have some humans. Yeah, you'll have the humans there as well, I think, in Sundberg, maybe to the province to your right, if I remember correctly. And by the time Queek comes up, Krokgar comes around, it might be a while before you're facing off against Legendary Lords, not discounting the Tomb King Legendary Lords, of course, who are a couple of them will start around that area as well. But there is a good amount of varied opposition. Let's have a look at the Mortal Empires campaign, and here we have it. As we discussed earlier, he's down there not too far away from Malus's starting position in these new territories that have been opened up to the east of the old Mortal Empires map. So that's great to see, maybe a bit of a nod and a wink there to where we might be going in Total War Warhammer 3. Fun maps and starting positions for these two legendary lords. Let me know what you guys think in terms of those starting positions, where you'll launch your methods of attack into first. But as always guys, a huge thank you for watching, and I do hope to catch you all on the next one. Alright guys, bye.